Let's see if this works. It's very echoing here. I'm in Austin, Texas. Today is February 19th, 2024. And the forecast for Orange County was it was going to rain for 3 days. And I said, fuck this, I'm out of here. So I was just looking for somewhere warm. And tomorrow is 79 here. And of course, as I said before, for some reason I can't journal when I'm at home. Like even the videos don't work, the audio's off sync. As you notice, this time I'm wearing a shirt. It's kind of cold. There's no balcony also, and there's music outside. It's kind of disturbing. I don't really like the city. It doesn't feel like Texas. I haven't seen a single cowboy hat. There's a lot of trucks, but this city is like a proper city. A lot of people walking outside that I saw. I just walked around for a while, and then I got food. But I saw like people around my age. There's like couples out. There's people like in the park, families. It's like a nice, I don't know, like from the freeway coming into town. I was like, looks like a scene from Narcos or something. Abandoned buildings and just not, doesn't feel like home. I was thinking, like, I'm this close to leaving California because I'm not like, my roots aren't down. You know what I mean? Roots meaning like, I don't have anything keeping me there. Um, so I figure, why don't I travel and then see if something vibes with me? This does not feel like home. Um, but I'm really close to the comedy mothership where Joe Rogan has a thing. I think they're filming a Kill Tony thing tonight. It's sold out, and I'm too tired, but I might go tomorrow just to do something. Can't just talk to myself all day, you know? I went to, I'm so full. Like I was gonna say I swallowed so much meat. I went to a barbecue place. It was called like Terry Blacks, something like that. Line out the door. Sorry, excuse me. Terry African Americans. And the line was around the building. And you know me in crowds. It's a mess in there, but the food wasn't that good. I've had better barbecue in Houston, so I don't know if you're a food connoisseur. That's my review. The turkey was good, and the ribs were not. Okay, so what do I want to talk about today? Do you want a life update? Should I just tell you what I'm doing? Do I say something or do I not say something? I reconnected with someone, and I guess we'll see. I was feeling for the first time in a long time like excited, but I'm also like, you know, I've seen too much to get excited. So we'll see. I don't know. Um, I don't really want to talk about it. I'm not ready, but it's interesting. It's very interesting. I could, yeah. I don't know. I feel like there's maybe two paths in front of me. Like do I become a recluse pariah, like lean into the autistic tendencies and stay away from society and just do spiritual growth and don't do anything else? Or do I like settle down and have a family and blah blah blah? I don't know if those two things conflict. Honestly, my spiritual stuff, like the stuff I think about in here, is far more important to me than the outside world. I feel like the outside world is the illusion. And anyone who's on the path will tell you that we live in a simulation of some sort. Everything is math, etc. Like it implies, if you think about it, like the Fibonacci sequence, the spiral that determines a snail's shell. I've said this before. Snail shell, the spiral of the galaxy follows the same mathematical equation. How the human body grows is determined by the Fibonacci sequence. How plants grow. It means there's a base code. It's code. So someone who stares at code for a living, I stare at a hex dump, I stare at a matrix, and I'm looking for patterns. And then in life, I find patterns. And I'm like, hey, have you guys noticed this pattern? And nobody's fucking paying attention. Of course, it sounds crazy. But even when shown, like, hey, did you notice this, 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 and this? Sometimes someone will be like, hey, I did notice that. Like, for my friend Amber, when her energy's off or when she's doing something wrong, she's in the wrong direction, she gets clumsy. And this wonderful woman I'm talking to, her synchronicities seem to be something funny. It's like how the universe is getting her attention specifically. It's a language that she speaks because it's her universe, right? It's Amber's universe. It's my universe. So my universe speaks to me in numbers. I see angel numbers a lot. 222, 9. I've been seeing a lot of 9s recently. And then 777 the past couple days since I started talking to this girl. It's been 7s and 2s, sometimes 5s. And of course, they all mean something to everybody, but it's supposed to mean something to you. And 777 means you're on the cusp of a spiritual evolution. And how am I going to have a spiritual evolution at home? Especially when it's raining. I'm powered by the sun. A rain cloud has followed me long enough in my life. Eeyore is my spirit animal. I need a change of scenery, you know? On top of this mirror, it looks like there's a cabin filter for a car. It's disgusting. Do you want to see it? Can you see why I was distracted? What the effing fuck is that? Okay. So let's talk about something real. 7 minutes and now okay, so what I've been wanting to talk about, and I tried a couple times, had false starts. Not here at home because I can't do anything at home. I want to talk about forgiveness. As a spiritual law, forgiveness has been one of the most important things. And not only forgiveness, but turning the other cheek. And it's something I still struggle with. It's hard. It goes against your human nature. But that's how you know there's a spiritual reward attached to it, because it's the hard thing to do. Now, every time in my entire life, well, like, once someone wrongs me, I only have a negative opinion, but when we're best friends, I sweep everything they do under the rug and protect them and stuff. In order to tell you a story of how I forgive someone, it's not important to tell you what they did to me, because no one's the bad guy in their own story. I'm sure the way it works is the people that upset you the most are the type of people who would never admit they did anything wrong. That's why it's so upsetting. And the thing is, that about them before you get too deep. So at the end of the day, it's still your fault, I think. So there's no reason to be upset. You start playing with a snake and the snake bites you. Guess what? Zahramar, you're the idiot. It's you. And Carl Jung would say that your subconscious mind is leading you to a lesson. Not necessarily where you need to be, but where you need to be for a lesson. It's the next step of your journey. Now, forgiveness. I have like a bunch of different things I'm thinking about. I ate way too much meat. I'm so uncomfortable. It wasn't even that much. It just feels heavy. I want to sleep. The itis, they call it. Okay, so like there's different types of forgiveness, like forgiving your parents. Everybody has some kind of something, right? And Carl Jung says that even if you have the perfect parents, you still have this feeling of abandonment. Humans have that innately. And spiritually speaking, this is for you to find the greater purpose in life. And without this greater purpose, you become food for the Ahrimanic beings, as the Zoroastrians would say. You'd be food for you're basically stuck in the material world where materialism is your God, where the Super Bowl is your God, Taylor Swift is your God, you name it. It's all idol worship. LeBron James. I can't believe people look up to that guy. You had Kobe. Comparing those two men, you're going to vote for LeBron. Anyways, he's like on his knees sucking China's dick as they're executing Uyghur. I don't know how to pronounce it. I've only seen it written down. That's how little people talk about it. It's not my fault. Fuck you. Anyways, those poor people. No one's vouching for those folks. That's a tangent. Forgiveness. So there's a psychological benefit to it if you want to look at it purely psychologically. And there's a spiritual aspect to it. Whether you choose to see it or not, I have seen it. I know it's real. So I used to tell people the things that my parents said or did to be like, that's fucked up, right? And then I would refuse to give them any credit in any other, you know what I mean? Because I hate that this is autofocusing constantly. Can we just be in the light or the dark? Maybe I'm moving too much. But recently I've been like, holy shit, my mom was right about so many things. My mom was right about this or that, and something I never saw, wasn't able to see. I still hate. Okay, now it's working. I just have to be very still as I talk. Fuck this phone, man. Sony, you fucking suck. How can you be this bad? Cameras are supposed to be your thing. Okay. Now it looks like there's a halo above me. Don't like that either. Can we talk about forgiveness? Okay, finally. It's now it's on me. Is that distracting? Clearly I'm traumatized. Look how much ADD I have. Forgiveness. Forgiveness as a spiritual law. So I noticed if anytime in my life someone did something to me and I wanted revenge, or I took revenge sometimes, it never worked out for me. But when I was able to let things go, things turn out very bad for the other person. Again, I don't want to give specific examples. Doesn't matter. I don't want you to hate the people that played important roles in my life, That's counterintuitive. But that shows that I have actually forgiven. I don't need anyone to hate them on my behalf. Do I give this specific example? An ex-girlfriend's father said something about me in front of me that challenged my self-worth. And it sent me, I guess, on this path, sent me into this. Because my reaction was, this was my honest reaction, my ego kicked in. He triggered me into ego. And I was like, you can't, how fucking dare you? I'm taller than you, and I'm not taller than anybody. It's you motherfucker, I'm taller than you. I'm fucking richer than you, I'm better looking, I'm buffer, I'll fuck you up. I was so angry that this guy made me feel a certain way. But do you hear that? He made me feel a certain way. There is the fuck up. No one can make you feel anything. Contrary to every opinion on Twitter, no one can make you do anything. You're basically advertising to the world that you don't have control of your emotions. When I grew up, they said, sticks and stones may break my bones, but fuck you. And now you have to, for my gender, you have to, the drop-down list is 50 things long. You can be called a Z in Zim, and it's with an X, not a Z. You can tell people are just trying to be unique. People are just they have nothing. They have nothing going on in their lives, and they lack purpose and meaning. And this is what you have to do. It's especially when you're switching genders, it shows, each thing in this universe, according to Kybalion, has gender. Tybelion states the laws of the universe. And when you neglect a side of you, you project a side of you. So Caitlyn Jenner, imagine when he was Bruce Jenner, man's man, Wheaties box, blah, 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 was not in touch with his feminine side. And look what happened later. You know, it's very clear, you know, you could follow the breadcrumbs. And the thing is, like, affirming someone's gender doesn't do anything to help them, for sure. And if someone has like a freak out about something you say, they're giving you power. And when someone gives me power over the way they feel, you know, I don't feel guilty usually, because it's like, that's a personal thing. That's a personal problem. You're giving me the power that I don't seek. I don't want power over anybody. And it's just very strange to want to walk on eggshells. And like, as I record these, and now I posted like the first set publicly, I know that there's a few things that I misspoke about. Like I said concurrently instead of consecutively, and just the fact that I don't want to edit, I'm too lazy. I'll just say dumb shit sometimes, and just let it be. I don't care. If someone wants to hold on to something, let them. Like, who cares? But forgiveness. So this man that I thought like I was going to marry his daughter, this man said something that challenged my masculinity and my self-worth. And if I was further along in my process, his words would have rolled off my shoulders. Wouldn't have mattered. And he played an important role in my life, and it would have been someone else if it wasn't him. So why hate him? And I do believe that that's something Robert Edward Grant says. It's like you're supposed to have some kind of deep betrayal that essentially sparks your consciousness. And you can see people repeating the pattern of betrayal a lot in their lives, but never learning, never adjusting course, never self-reflecting. And it's because a lot of the spiritual world, the spiritual gurus, books, knowledge is veiled in secrecy. Like, we learn about Freud, we don't learn about Jung. Like, Jung superseded Freud. We should just be learning Jung. We know Freud was wrong because we have Jung. And Jung, he was steeped in Kant and Nietzsche, and Freud himself was fucked up. And to Jung's credit, he was analyzing Freud's dreams. That he knew that man intimately, and he could have buried him. After he was died, he could have just told everyone this is what he dreamed about. We would know how fucked up he was, because we could analyze his dreams after his death. But Jung, master, what a great leader, a true alchemist, for sure. Now, at the time when this man said something, I was like, I came home and I destroyed my room. I was like throwing things, punching things. Like, it literally took me into like my animal nature. And I told his daughter, like, I heard your dad say this. And then she obviously tells her dad, and the dad makes up some story, gaslights me. Like, I heard him say it twice and then caught him lying after, but it's not important. But the gaslighting after just sit with me. And then every time I saw him after that, my opinion is, I loved the guy, and he represented my shadow. I loved the guy for Not like this is the father. I loved his daughter in a different way, but I loved him as a person because I could see how similar we were. We had a lot of the base materials as the same. And I think that's why his daughter was into me, is because I reminded her of her father, especially the way like I guess I took care of her. Like when she was unemployed, I gave her a credit card. Like I was worried about her safety. When we were friends, we weren't dating. I was like, what happens if you run out of gas or if you're stuck somewhere you don't have any money? And we can argue that that's a dumb thing to do, but that's who I am. Like that's when people are in need, I help as much as I can. And I was under the impression that the father was in need, so I lent a helping hand, and then he basically threw it in my face and basically said something to the effect that made me feel that all I am is money. Like 15 years of being in the family was just, you're here because you pay for stuff. And of course, it erased everything that's ever happened between us. Every like good memory, it doesn't exist now. Same with the daughter. Like I was just in my computer sending old pictures to the girl I'm seeing, and there were so many over the years of me and my many old friends that now I'm not in touch with. And it's like at the time I would have died for them. And then at a certain point I realized they would sooner let me die than help me. Which is just like, that's the betrayal I'm talking about. And that's a hard thing to forgive, when you would do something more for other people. But Tyson said, don't let the devil change you. If the devil changes you, he wins. He's your master now. And I believe that. So I want to keep my good nature. I want to be an angel on earth. I want to do good things for people, especially I should do everything out of love, whether I know them personally or not. And there's a good saying that the way you judge others is how the universe judges you. I'm sure there's a Bible verse to say that's God, but universe is more palatable to people these days. It's the same thing. And when I was harsh and criticizing other people, I've made a lot of mistakes. I'll continue to make mistakes. I'm sure I've made mistakes today. And forgiveness is a virtue, We live in like a pitchfork era. Everyone's looking to light someone on fire because they're unhappy. And the opposite is the way to go. And nobody's really on this path. But I learned, like I wanted to sue someone. And I'm sure I mentioned this before, but there's a guy who I did work for, and he didn't pay his invoice, and I had just experienced that mafia thing. So I just had a, physical altercation, and I was really like wanting to protect myself. It's like anyone who takes advantage of me is gonna feel my fists. So this guy like ignored me for 3 weeks. Like I said, I was sending like nice texts, not where's my money. It was like, hey, is everything okay? Like, is there any issues? Initially he responded and he was being nice, and then for 3 weeks, nothing. Then I asked someone like, hey, does this guy have a problem paying? And they're like, oh yeah, he owes us a lot of money. And I talked to one of my friends, and he's like, oh, fuck that guy. He did this, he did that. You should sue him. And I was like getting riled up. I'm like, oh, I should sue him. And I had this very big spiritual debate, like, is suing people wrong? And even I talked to a friend of mine who's a Jungian psychologist, or wants to be. And she said, oh, pick up your sword. That means fight. But in the book of Matthew, it says, turn the other cheek. Now, I'm pretty sure I gave this example in one of the other things I recorded, but I'll do it again. I'll circle back because it involves the first story. But I was going back and forth. Do I sue this guy or not? I am representing a business. Take my emotions out of it. The business did work, didn't get paid. Go to court, get the money. And then I realized, like, if I become an asshole to protect money, I'm just an asshole. So right now, he has done something wrong spiritually, and the universe keeps score. God keeps score. I like saying God. Fuck you. So if I sue him and then he doesn't pay, and then I have to name his uncle and his family, and I have to, get the DMV to put a hold on his license or do all this stuff. It's like, first of all, I'm wasting my time and energy on what? Nothing good. Nothing good. Can I afford to go without the money? Yeah. And I immediately started talking shit on the guy to people that are connected to him. And he heard about it and he was obviously upset. And I was like, fuck you started it. Pay your invoice and you won't hear about it. And I had the feeling that he was never going to pay me. That's why I was upset. It's like, at the time of me doing the job, he didn't look at me in the eyes once, and I was like, this motherfucker's not going to pay. And then I went 0 to 100. But as I learned spiritually, when you assassinate a man's character, it's the same thing as killing a man. You're putting the knife in his back. You're taking it in your hands to control the man's ability to feed his family. You should not take that lightly, Twitter. Just saying. I bought a car sight unseen. It was sold through this dealership for John Cena. John Felix Anthony Cena was the registered owner. I have a photocopy of his title when I got it. They sold me this car. It had dents in it. The rear view mirror was like messed up. You couldn't see out of it. It had clearly, in my opinion, had way more miles. Like, you could see it was pitted paint and pitted windshield. I'm like, this is like, fuck you guys. Take this back or I'm suing you. And I was getting so riled up. And then I realized that 6 months earlier, I sold a car and I didn't set up my voicemail yet. And the people tried to call me back and say there's problems with the car that I didn't mention. And I looked up the VIN number and they sold the car for $5,000 less than I sold it to them for. And guess how much it cost me to fix this fucking car? The clutch was fucked up. I had to do a bunch of other stuff. $5,000. So when I realized, it's like, oh, the universe is balancing. Nothing bad happened to me. This was when I thought I got away with it. The universe was like, no. God said, no. This is you. And I was like, oh my God. I was ready to post this review, threaten the relationship with John Cena, never post John Cena's name in my Yelp review. First of all, you can't fucking drive. He doesn't maintain his cars. He's the angel of death for all these retarded children on TV. And I apologized to the staff. Not that I did anything, but that I was thinking about doing something. I was like, you don't have to worry. I'm not going to sue you, but everything evens out. So I'm sure now they'll have to, on another deal, they'll get whatever is coming to them, and then the universe balanced for me as well. Now back to the guy who didn't pay me. Somehow I lost this lesson and I keep losing it, or I keep finding a different way to lose the lesson and have to relearn it, because it's not an easy cut and dry thing. So I have to trial and error it. So not that work was very slow, but when I apologized to the guy, I sent him and his staff lunch and texted him a long apology, and he didn't respond, understandably. And I was still on the fence. I was like, this motherfucker didn't say, cool, we're cool, bro. But when I finally let it go, and I was like, I knew that I'd be doing something wrong spiritually, and I'm not going to fuck with that. It's not up to interpretation. There's right and wrong. And it's a type of right and wrong that the universe teaches you, not your parents or the legal system, the justice system. God is the ultimate judge, right? So I let it go, and when I let it go energetically, I let it go from here. That's where you hold it, and then floodgates open. Like had a massive influx of work, influx of abundance, and it's like the universe is like, yes, back on track, good. And then I recently did 3 jobs for the guy. Wouldn't have happened if I sued him. Definitely wouldn't have happened. Now he hasn't paid the last invoice, so I'm in the same position more or less. But this time I'm not gonna freak out. I've been here before. I passed this level already. He doesn't ever have to pay for it. You know, it's on him. I'm doing everything right by me. Now, part of the reason I came out here is because energetically I've been feeling off. I almost feel sick. Like I don't feel sick. I feel like I'm about to get sick. Like my ears are hot. It feels like there's a lump in my throat. I'm like waking up in the middle of the night, so I know something's up. And it's why I thought like I do need to get out of town and journal, figure stuff out. Now let me talk about forgiveness again. So with the first story, the almost father-in-law. Fuck, man, can't imagine what my life would have been like if I did that. If I married into that family, I was like afraid to call them out, basically. Like the obvious, like you guys are gaslighting each other. Why are you doing it to me as well? Like you don't believe the things that you're saying. And why do I have to pay to be here? It's a weird thing for someone to feel entitled to your money. Not my money. I honestly, if these people didn't telegraph so hard that they just wanted my money, the money, I'm a very good. Like I don't need anything. It's like if my family is in trouble, it's like here's money. My brother needed my help in real estate, and in order to help him, I hurt myself, and I put myself at risk. Whatever. He's like freaking out. Like, what happens if jail, this or that? I'm like, that's what happens. I don't care. Just learned that from the Stoics. It's like, whatever. I'll adapt. Whatever is supposed to happen will happen. Now, I had initially gotten over the daughter very easily because she was kind of going back and forth between me and another guy. I started to subconsciously notice that while she's with me, the lies she was feeding that guy, I was hearing myself when I'm on the other line. You know what I mean? When I'm him and I hear yeah, we're going to hang out together. Is anyone else going to be there? Yeah, other people will be there. And then she hangs up. I'm like, why did you lie? She's like, well, other people will be at Disneyland. They don't have to be with us. Lying by omission is still lying, right? It's interesting that religious people are always the ones that try to circumnavigate, like trick God. It's a vibration. You can't fake a vibration. And on that subject, anyone who's ever tried to sell me God, I pay attention. I'm fucking laser focused, and I feel their vibe, and I'm like, you're lying. You're fucking lying. You don't believe. It's neither here nor there. So I was posting about my, when I had Instagram after I broke up with her. Immediately it was like very hard, but I had given it my all. I was like, I said yes to everything that I would normally say no to, and it's still, there was problems. So it was like, walk away like a clean shit where you don't have to wipe. I was like, I'm done. And then she was watching my social media, so she saw me being happy and moving on. And of course, she's like, I'm going to put a stop to that shit. And she came into my life so aggressively. And my suspicion is that she needed to move, and she wanted to move into a nice place with someone who could buy her nice things. The shit doesn't fall far from the asshole, I like to say. So, she's telling me that we belong together and stuff, but it didn't. I was like, first of all, I'm not sure if I ever want to see you again or talk to you. Can you like give me some time? Like I had some things planned with friends and I just wanted to like give me a break for a little bit. It's been all about you. Can I fucking have some time, please? And because she's an anxious attachment person and her actual safety and, you know, a roof over her head was dependent on it. She broke up with a guy that I'm not supposed to worry about and blah 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 and that all that stuff. Tried to get back with me and I was very resistant. And the more she pushed, the more I felt I was like, who the fuck are you? Like I remember like looking in her eyes and it was like, are you possessed? Like you look like my friend, but you don't act like her. It's like, can you fuck off, please? I said, let me reach out to you. Let me like give me space. And she's calling me like I'm on parole. And like, where are you? Who are you with? And it's like, I'm with, go fuck yourself. Leave me alone. I was like freaking out when someone's trying to do this to you all the time. It's like a caged animal. I was doing really weird, reckless things. And it's because I was looking to escape. And there's no escape. There's no escape in this. Bum, bum, bum. That's how my brain works. Then I go on a tangent and talk about the Beatnuts for 30 minutes. They only had 2 good songs. So we did mushrooms together in Las Vegas. And when she came back, I was very resistant and blah blah blah. And then I was like, well, you know, your barrier drops completely when you're on mushrooms. It's a bad idea to do it with someone you're not sure about. And then of course you just feel love because your brain is leaking chemicals. So I was like, oh, we were meant to do this in the universe, like we've always been, and you know, the energy in the universe, blah blah blah. She's like, you're saying weird shit. I'm just here for the money. And as I sobered up, I was like calling everyone I knew. I was like, guys, I figured it out. Everything's fine. We're back together. And as I sobered up, I was like, what about her father? And here's the problem that I had. It is a problem. We were great friends and we should have stayed friends. My problem was always that I see, as an atheist, I was far more brutal about it, but people who run churches are below beggars in the streets because they're lying to get your money. I think it's far worse than someone saying, I'm down on my luck, please, can you help out? Or, you know, doing a dance on the sidewalk or something. They're at least earning it. But someone telling you, give me your money so you get to heaven, I think those people work for the other guy necessarily. I was very wishy-washy about making that because it sounds like a judgment, but I think they're incentivized. You would be incentivized by the devil to lead people astray, right? And like, how does me paying your car payment help me get to heaven? How much of the money I donate to your church goes to anyone but you? So I am morally super against it. And I was thinking not just that, but like now, you know, they took their masks off and showed me what they were really after. They were able to hide it from me, or I was just naive. I just didn't realize it till later. And when I thought back, I was like, you know what? She was always around. She said I'm the most fun. It's because I would pay for stuff. I paid for everything, like vacations and dinners and whatever. I was like, oh my God, the whole time, you feel so stupid. And of course you feel angry afterwards, and then you get mad at everyone, and then the path to forgiveness and also forgiving yourself is just, there's different types of forgiveness, but Forgiving yourself is another one. But as I sobered up from this mushroom trip, I was like, what about her father? Because I know that I could, I can see bullshit from a mile away. But I thought every time my kids are seeing their grandfather, he's going to be like, hey, did your dad tell you I talked to God? Yeah. And this is how it is, and this is how you should do, and you just do what I say and not as I do, and somehow God favors me over everybody, even though I didn't do anything to earn it. I'm not nice to people, I'm not generous, I'm not, you know what I mean? And my dad is a staunch atheist. My father, Saeed Bekham, he thinks that he did it all on his own. I know better. I've been here, I've been watching. But he feels lied to and betrayed and stupid because he was raised Muslim in a country that, once you learn the history, was forced to be Muslim against their will, and there's a lot of generational trauma from that still continuing. So he has an axe to grind against who he thinks is God. But if you're like me, you think all organized religion is organized by one person. Tatanka, the devil, Baal, Moloch, Set, how many names? Ahriman, maybe? It's the confusion. When you're confused, that's where the devil wants you. It's aliens. It's Jesus, it's not Jesus, it's this or that and the other thing. It's the Easter Bunny. When you're confused, you're just leaking energy. You're praying to everything. You're praying to Donald Trump for some reason. That's how I see it. I'm not right about everything, just most stuff. You're entitled to be wrong. So, when she came back, I had to do this type of mental gymnastics because I was very resistant. Energetically, we were not a match whatsoever. Whatever friendship we had was long gone, and I could feel her intention wasn't good. And the heavy gaslighting wasn't just from her, it was from me. I was like, something must be wrong with me. Why don't I want to be with this? Looks great on paper. My best friend, is a pastor's daughter. Like, this looks like picturesque, right? But somehow the atheist was following Christian rules more closely, yet I'm the one who wasn't Christian enough. There was so much to deal with emotionally. And of course, you wanted to escape, so I was still going out on weekends and stuff. And I remember the day before my birthday, it was a couple years ago, maybe 3 years ago now. Because of when she came back and I was resistant, when she finally left, she already had her backup plan set. So, like, she came on vacation with me to meet my grandma in Dubai. And she was like jewelry shopping. She wanted me to buy her jewelry. I was like, I don't even know if we're ever going to see each other after this. And while we were together, her now husband and father of her child was at her family's house having Thanksgiving with him. So, like, she literally came to make sure I didn't bring someone else specifically who is my real friend, and then to try and squeeze the last bit of jewelry out before she settles for a less luxurious lifestyle. And initially we were going to stay friends, and I ended up buying her the necklace she wanted and giving it to her for Christmas anyways. Like, I was like, it's a parting gift. Good luck to you. And then when it dawned on me, I'm like, you fucking idiot, this whole time I went insane. I was every emotion you could have, and it was like more than I could handle. It's like I was like radioactive. I went into like a proper psychosis, which is, I guess, what's supposed to happen to trigger your statement phase. Is the phoenix has to rise from the ashes. That means everything burns down. Everything I thought was real, gone. Like the image I had in my head of who this person was didn't exist. I was like chasing a mirage. And then realizing my intuition was telling me energetically, if like someone was holding me, I know someone had my back, because it didn't make sense to me. It wasn't at the forefront of my mind, but in here somewhere I knew. So for months and months and months after, like once I realized the betrayal and the father saying something earlier that challenged my self-worth, I asked God for an answer. So what was the purpose of this? If everything happens for a reason, why? Because initially I was like, okay, if there's a God, he'd probably put this religious family in my life so I'd find him. Now I think the other guy did it to try and dissuade me from finding actual God. And the thought popped into my head immediately: turn the other cheek. So I made a promise to, like on the spot, like I felt my heart chakra open. I felt the whole warm when I realized that I have to forgive him, and that it was a spiritual lesson. Like all this, the pain, the stress went away. But I, honestly, God, I felt a full-on release. But your brain loves to replay the past, the highlights of, remember this thing and this thing and this thing that embarrassed you, this thing that hurt you. This is like, I would be driving down the street and something reminds me of, someone from my past. And then I start going down this rabbit hole. And then before I know it, my whole day I've been thinking, like I'm walking around like this, like mad at someone. And then my day was spent being mad, just having a bad day, drinking poison, expecting someone else to die. And then like, that's what cursing is. I'm like in my head wishing bad on someone. That's sending someone negative energy, is cursing them. So you should be careful with it, right? Words cast spells. That's why it's called spelling. So I'm trying to tread lightly here and not say like terrible things, but still get my point across. Now, the thought in my head to turn the other cheek was so that I'm forced to permanently forgive, and also energetically I release. Like I can't renege on it, because I have a tendency to Indian give my forgiveness. And that's what I did. And it still took a very long time to not have negative thoughts about these people. And even though I know that they were instrumental to my spiritual awakening, instrumental to my ultimate well-being and ultimate good, because I felt like their intentions were wrong, I hated them. But if their intentions were good, I wouldn't be here. I'd be there. I wouldn't be happy. I know that. So ultimately, like, man suffers because he takes seriously what the gods made for fun, and we are the gods. Like, this was a test that I gave myself unknowingly. And full on forgave, like, not to the point where I want them in my life, but I had another level of forgiveness on top recently. I was talking to my friend on the phone, and somehow this came up. Like, she knew the backstory of all this stuff, so we were talking about it, and I was like, yeah, he made me feel like, I looked at this guy like he was going to be my father-in-law. I looked at him like he was going to be, for a long time, for years, thought this was going to be grandpa to my kids. And I know his backstory. He talks about his trauma a lot, especially in his sermon. So I was like, yeah, he made me feel how he felt as a kid. Because the nature of trauma is you become the monster that created you. It is very hard to avoid that. And if you look at the world today, you can see the pendulum swinging. Nazi Germany, now Israel's doing stuff. Like if you have it in your mind, you got their demon. And what's a demon's job? It's to create more demons. So I think like a lot of the problems in the world today are spiritual in nature, and if you don't believe in the spiritual aspect of it, how do you solve it? I think they're all spiritual problems. And I think the same demon in Netanyahu was the same demon in Hitler. I think is the same guy. You can justify whatever if you don't give a shit about people, if you dehumanize them, you know? And I know when you criticize a single person, people want to say you are this and you are that. And then the obvious thing is like, my best friend is one and blah, blah, blah. Like I've been to Israel many times. You know what I mean? Some of my favorite people are Jewish people. But you don't have to defend that. That's a stupid argument. But when someone labels you as a hateful person, they're saying they can read your mind and read your heart. I'm not a hateful person. And I wish that Netanyahu had felt full and loved and not traumatized by, you know, his demons. Because I guarantee there was a solution that didn't look like this, that didn't involve killing people. There's never an excuse to kill people, in my personal opinion. So I found this new level, just talking about it out loud. I was like, he made me feel how he felt as a kid, because he is the monster that created him. He is his father, and he realizes his father so much, and he's not over it. He hasn't figured it out yet because he's been doing spiritual bypassing. I found God, I speak for God. I know. You can't teach it. You can't teach a man something he thinks he already knows. And a stubborn man makes idols of his opinions as well. So knowing that, it's like, how can you be mad? So how far up the chain do you, should I be mad at his father, his father's father, how far back do we go? And then you just have to realize this is why it says we fight not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, spiritual rulers of this world, blah, blah, blah. I think they say Peter said that, or Paul. Probably Paul. The documented liars say that this guy said that. And we know his name wasn't that. So, or it starts with a lie. Anyways, the lesson there is real. Forgiveness has shown me over and over again that it's a virtue. It helped me move on, helped me understand people better, it helped me understand myself better. And the only way I've been able to analyze and forgive is as I understand myself, because I know that I do the devil's work for him too. I have been the devil to many people when I react unconsciously. I was driving around my mom's neighborhood showing my friend girl the houses. I was like, I used to like this house, I used to like that house. This is where I grew up. And some guy pulls up next to me. He's like, bro, are you good? I was like, what? He's like, you're driving really suspicious, slowing down. Like, what the fuck? You're everywhere I go. I'm like, I don't even know who you are. He's like, are you trying to steal? I was like, I'm in like a 2-door coupe, like a tiny little BMW. Steal what? Your Fruity Pebbles? But I think he was probably delivering drugs. He's probably a drug user. So he was on something. And in my heart, I wanted to get outside my car and beat the fuck out of this idiot. It's like, how dare you talk to me, you idiot? In your Nissan Sentra, fuck off. But he's giving me that demon. So like afterwards even, I was like, have a nice night. Have a nice night. Like, I live here. This is my address. He's like, are you sure? Like, bro, get the fuck out of here. But like, replayed in my head, like, should I have gotten out of the car? Should I have, like, you know what I mean? So many things that I could have done. And then I keep stopping myself, like, no. That is the devil testing you. Because if I beat the fuck out of this guy, what do I get spiritually? I don't get a reward. It'll feel good. I'd be lying if I said it didn't feel good. This one time, I was in Palm Springs, and the girl I was with, she's like, this guy next to me just touched my ass. I was like, who? She's like, right next to me. And I stand up and I'm looking at him. I'm standing in front of him, and he's like moving around with his hands, and then he just like pinched her, like in front of me. And I was like, what the fuck are you doing? You're a fucking sexual predator. And then some guy comes up to me. He's like, I don't know who you are, but you did that to my girlfriend as well. I'm like, why the fuck did you come into my... I was like ready to punch this guy. I was like, get the fuck out of my... Are these people all together? It was so weird. So weird. So I'm just like, at the time I was big. It's like 30, 40 pounds heavier. And then the guy swung on me. And the thing is, I moved it a little bit, but he connected. Like, it didn't hurt. But the audacity, like, first he sexually assaults this girl, then you hit me, and bouncer comes, separates us. And then I'm like, okay, he's getting kicked out, it's fine. Like, the guy's like, what happened? I was like, he's been sexually assaulting women. You have to call the police. He's like, okay. And he takes the guy outside. This guy was a regular at this bar. It's called, doesn't matter what it's called. I don't want to ruin the business. So I'm sitting there, and like some guys come up and like, you handle that beautifully. Can I buy you a beer? I'm like, I'm okay. And I'm sitting there fuming. And then I look at the girl, and then I think back. I look back, and I'm like, I can't just sit here. Like, if he's getting arrested, fine, but let me go see what's happening. I was like, I'll be right back. I open the door, and he's just chatting to the bouncer outside, like they're best friends. So I'm looking at him, and the bouncer's in between us, facing him. So I'm like, okay, I gotta get around this guy's shoulder and punch through that guy's face. It was the best feeling I've ever had. Like, it was so comfortable. It's like more comfortable than any sleep I've ever had. And then he wanted to fight back, and the bouncer is just bad at his job. So he's like getting access to me, like, and I'm like ready to go again. I'm like, let's keep doing this, dude. Now it's fun. And then he had a friend with him. So it was 1-on-2, and it didn't escalate from there. But the guy said to his friends, like, he got me good. And I was like, I can't explain the feeling. You know? It would have felt better if he got knocked out, but obviously didn't solve anything. I wish it didn't feel good. I don't know what to do about that. The audacity. So many like rapey people. I also think, I mean, obviously that guy must have demons. Obviously. So his demon got me to engage. I lose. I wasn't paying attention at the time to see what the fallout was, what spiritual consequences I had. And perhaps there weren't any, or they weren't severe. But as I've become more conscious, as I've become more aware, the universe corrects me immediately. Even if I eat something wrong. Okay, that's probably long enough. Somehow that has to do with forgiveness. I'm in Austin until the rain stops, which is Thursday. Thursday's the warmest day. I just wanted to get sun. Maybe like reset somehow, and then journal. And honestly, from here, it looks like the shutter like opens and closes to change the brightness constantly. So I don't know if I can use this, but at least it's a start. I've got a couple more days to figure things out. And look at me go, under an hour. I'll keep thinking on a walk tomorrow and see what else I can come up with, because I'm backed up a little bit. That's where I'm at. Forgiveness. Try it. See for yourself. What could go wrong? Probably a lot, but still fun trying.